live on the iHemp Hour. Welcome. My name is Dave Crable. I'm with iHemp Michigan. iHemp Michigan's mission is to educate, inform, and promote the research, development, and cultivation of industrial hemp here in Michigan. And we're joined with Kim Croes again and Alex Escher. We're going to talk about hempcrete. But before we get to that, Blaine Bechtold, I haven't seen you in a little while. How you doing, buddy?
You know, we're doing good. I've taken on a new caretaker role, interesting in our family world. So that's kind of taken a lot of my time, but we're making good progress there. So happy there. And hey, you know, it's grilling season out, Dave. It's summer now. Yeah, happy summer solstice, everybody. Or the 21st, the longest daylight of the year, because the days are still 24 hours. But the unfortunate part of that now means that every day we get a little less sunlight. But
marching towards the winter, yes,
we are. Yeah. Last week, some people were maybe like that a little bit, but
hockey season's just ended, and we're marching towards a new one. Yeah,
there you go. So, you know, like I say, it's a grilling season now, so we got a great recipe. Sweet potato hemp burgers for the end of the show today. So that's what we're going to talk about.
So, Mike, what's going on in your world?
Well, we're still real busy. Got lots of stuff going on. This is the event season. You know, it's Michigan, right? So all the outdoor events, and there's just a slug of them like every weekend, and there's something going on. And then some of the groups that we work with are over on Blaine's side of the world. On July 9th, the Canabash Fest is going to be held in Muskegon at that big softball complex. And they're expecting 4,000 or 5,000 people. They got 40 odd booths already, and I'm going to be there with the whole 420 Post team, which is my show from Wednesday. We'll all be there, and then Anton Harb's going to be there as well, announcing some new stuff with the Hero project that we have developed. And so it'll be, you know, and a lot of people that I virtual with so many people that it's really nice to get around and actually see live people again, right? And give them a hug and that sort of thing. So it'll be nice to see that. It'll be a lot of people there that I know.
All right, excellent. All right, and I know you probably have a little bit of news, but we'll save that to the break. So right now, let's get into the talk about hempcrete. Kim Croes started her hempcrete company, FiberFort, in Detroit, Michigan, with the hopes of making a positive impact on the earth. And Alex, and she's on site doing a little bit of work right now. Alex Escher is the director of hemp fiber applications at Escher Design, a regional leader of the US Hemp Building Association, and founder of Hemp Hollow Processing. So welcome, guys. Kim, you've got some hempcrete projects coming up in a workshop. Well, why don't we talk about that a little bit?
Sure. So my job coming up here is in Chelsea, Michigan. We have our first hempcrete build coming up here, and so we're tying up the last pieces of it. In fact, I got a phone call just a few minutes away.
Sorry.
What was that?
That was me opening another browser window and the audio jumped right in.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so we've got a workshop coming up on July 8th and 9th. I think we might just stick to the 9th, which is Saturday, because that's where we're finding the most interest in everybody coming out. But you can come out and be a part of the build and do some hand cast, learn about hempcrete, and get to know more about like what, you know, how it is constructed from the beginning to the end. And so that's a really good opportunity for people to come out. It's only $125 to participate and includes lunch.
Okay, fantastic.
Lunch, material, and all that great education and training. Now, come on, it's more than just that.
Yes.
Some hands-on activities. That's good. Yeah. Alex, are you doing anything with hempcrete these days? What's going on in your world?
I am, yes. I've actually got my a hempcrete course coming up next week at UVM. It's basically just a basic course for the undergrad students there. So that I'm very excited about. I've got another more advanced.
What UVM means, I don't know.
Oh, excuse me, that's University of Vermont.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, following that, I've got another course at Yes Tomorrow Design and Build School in August, or excuse me, yeah, in August. This is going to be a little bit more of an advanced course where it's 2 days, where it's about 10-12 hours of lectures and about the same amount on hands-on. So you'll be building a whole wall there. So they've got 2 courses going on there. And we've got a number of projects with the Escher Design on the design end in the works right now, to putting some stuff on site. So it's a combination of education. I've got some speaking engagements at at Rutgers coming up in July, and I'm actually the keynote speaker at NECAN Cannabis Expo, which in the next 2 days or so. So it's a combination of education, hands-on, and actual building stuff.
Very cool. It's good to see these opportunities come up.
Keeping moving it forward. That's the important part.
Yeah, and the USHBA has also been, we've been working on developing the framework to doing a lot of the testing standards as well. So this is the goal being to take what's been done in Europe overseas and make it work for US domestic channels using domestic organizations.
Now, I was going to talk about it at the break, but now US Hemp Building Association has a webinar or training on July the 9th that's coming up.
Yes, I believe they do. Yeah, they've got a series of web events that they do on a pretty regular basis. So yeah, they've got one coming up. It's definitely worth recommending. They've got speakers from all over the hemp supply chain. So it's a good educational tool for people who are either just starting out in the hemp space or want to learn, some specifics about certain aspects of the hemp building and what goes along with it.
I think for that one, there's a little registration fee that needs to be paid for it. But if you're interested, go to the US Hemp Building Association website, and I'm sure you can find out. I know I've already signed up for it, but man, there's so many things going on that day. We've got, Mike Brennan going to be over at the big party. Kim's doing her stuff. So man,
Big day on July 9th. Yes.
Figure out where we're all going to be at that day. So
yep.
Yeah. So Kim, you got maybe some stuff, maybe some pictures or some video that you wanted to share a little bit too, but I want to get back to your event, what's going on. So
yeah, absolutely. So I brought up some pictures, and let me see how I can do this. Let's see. Okay, so hopefully you can see my pictures here right now.
Lots of pictures, yes.
Okay, yep. This is pictures that we took from the hempcrete training, or the hemp spray application, which Alex was at.
I should have a cameo in a few of these pictures.
Yes, there's definitely some that you are in here, Alex.
Mm-hmm.
So Kim, what is this right here? Are we seeing? Is this?
So this is just basically what we're doing here is we are just hand screeding the hempcrete after the hempcrete has been already spray applied. So you want to even it out because it tends to be quite lumpy when you first apply it. And so you want to get a nice even surface. So you're going to use your hand to first get any of those big lumps out of there. And then you'll use screeding tools, which I have some pictures of. Sorry, this is probably going to.
So it's just like working with cement then.
Well,
Somewhat?
not just like, but there's many different things that are similar for sure. So here's a picture of the process of the mud hog or the mixer being poured out into the table that we provide. We feed the hempcrete into the hopper machine, which supplies the sprayer with the hempcrete. So this is kind of the beginning of the chain, if you will, to get that hempcrete spray applied.
So Kim, now Dave, you said you had a question. Somebody brought in.
Yeah. If I could, is the ratio similar to where you would hand tamp? Because it looks like there's less less limestone in this.
Yeah, this is actually a lighter mix. You're looking at a 1-to-1 ratio, but the bag is smaller. You're looking at a 33-pound bag versus like a 45 to 55-pound bag of lime binder. So it's definitely a lighter mix as far as the lime in itself, which allows it to be sprayable. And that's going to give you a faster dry time as well, because there's
That was the other question, because I was talking to someone earlier and he's like, I just don't see hempcrete working. Doesn't it take like 12 weeks to dry? So talk about the drying time for
yeah,
this.
so 12 weeks, and it really varies. There's so many different aspects that go into this. And what you see here is this is the actual spray application happening in process. So with the E-Reezy, it's generally about an 8-week dry time. Whereas if you are going to be hand tamping, you probably are adding that extra month onto the dry time. But these are precast panels made by Alex. Can you remind me what their company name is? Homeland Hempcrete. Okay, Homeland Hempcrete by Matt. You guys had him on your podcast beforehand, and so this takes out that excessive wait time for the hempcrete to solidify, because you can then spray it into these panels, let these panels dry, and then transport them to site already dried. And
so these will be finished panels that you bring on site. Oh, very cool.
Yep.
Yeah, I was going to say,
applications right now are just getting started, but that's one of the solutions to some of the projects that those longer dry times might not be sufficient for. And I'll just add to with that, the drying time, that doesn't mean that the material is not solid. That just means that, when you're adding something like a plaster or something, that you want to just wait until it's dry enough for that, just to clarify.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then you don't want to paint it with latex or anything that's going to seal it, because you want that to be a vapor.
Right. That's what makes that's where makes hempcrete really a standout for a lot of the materials out there, is you have a vapor permeable and a breathable wall system.
Would you explain that? Because I struggle sometimes to explain that, how the humidity in the dwelling remains constant because of that water permeable.
Right. So essentially what you have, the reason that you use hemp hurd and not a conventional wood chip is it has these micro-sized capillaries that form to move water from the bottom of the plant to the top of the plant. Because the hemp plant is very thin as well, those capillaries are very elongated. On top of that, when you put it with a vapor permeable binder such as lime, what it allows is that these little pockets within the wall system allow heat and water to be stored. But at the same time, it's also with the addition of the lime plaster and with the thickness of the wall, what it essentially does is it allows heat to very slowly be stored and dissipate within the wall while not providing a perfect seal. So what you have is this perfect balance between something that can both store heat and water within the wall, but also allow it to slowly release it. So what you have is you have a strong insulator, but it also allows that breathability. So what this leads to is something that keeps a wall system or a roof system that keeps rooms cool in the summer and warm in the winter.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah.
So Alex or Kim, if these are pre-made panels, right, you take them to a site. What I'm thinking of is, when you build a house, you drill through these 2x4s to run your electric, plumbing, stuff like that. So how are you able to do that with this, or how do you compensate for that when you do a build?
So I would add someone like a Matt Marino would probably know more of the details on that, just because he's does that for a living. But I mean, there's a lot of different ways to do that, just from a pragmatic standpoint. I mean, one is that you could just do it on site type of thing. Again, the material is very easy to recast once if you need to make holes in it to run electrical and things like that, or that can be
Looks
put
like
in
Kim
the
is-
design. Or that could just be put in the design when the panels are being designed on that stage. So I would ask Matt,
Kim-
the
Kim
specifics
shows
of
one
that,
here,
but there's
yeah.
a lot of different ways of going about that. Kim, do you have anything?
Yeah, I do have something to add on that, Alex. So basically what Matt does with his precast panels is that they cast it full, like, solid walls. With the picture that I think you guys can see here, this is a traditional hempcrete build, where you would either cast in place or you would do spray application. Where you can see that they have the conduit already run into the walls, and they have the electrical panels also. The electrical outlets. Now, if you have already had put a solid wall in, that means that you have to channel those areas where you're going to then put that conduit in. So they basically just cut out with a saw those channels where you're going to place those particular receptacles. So, and hempcrete is actually not like concrete in that it's not as difficult to cut through as concrete. It's not nearly as difficult to cut through it.
Awesome, thank you.
Very cool. Yeah, I could see where, you spec, okay, I want outlets on these locations on the walls. You could have that all pre-done in the precast wall, if you had that spec in front in advance.
One thing I would really like to mention is that there's a lot of aspects when it comes to building a hempcrete home that has to be altered compared to a traditional build. So if anyone's looking to do a hempcrete house, that decision should be made before the build is actually begun. And unfortunately, with my current client, the decision was made, but I was not brought into the build until later on. So some decisions had been made incorrectly, and extra alterations have been necessary to bring it up to, where we can actually build and do the hempcrete. So that's something for people to come in, keep in mind, when they're considering this, is to bring a professional on early on in the process.
Do you see, now you're showing that box, do you have any issues with any caustic issues with the limestone against metal or plastic or anything like that?
Right. So this particular box is a metal box, as you can see, and you can use plastic boxes and then you don't have to even think about it. But that's why you see this box is red, because it has been painted with a red oxide primer, which protects it from the lime. It's, a rust inhibitor.
Okay. If it were just a plain metal box, it's going to rust.
It will start to corrode and rust. Yeah. Okay. So you want to that extra protection. So you have to keep that in mind with, like, your screws and nails as well, that you're going to use galvanized.
Interesting. Wow. Yeah. Have you seen, what I think would be cool is if you made, now that's a very cool house, but I've seen, the geodesic dome house, to do those kind of triangles, to put together a house. I think that'd be really interesting with the hempcrete.
Mm-hmm.
They are doing dome style homes in multiple different areas, including they're looking at a dome style hempcrete house for Ukraine, due to the fact that they've got, the war going on, and they need housing for people that has, been demolished, and they need to have, easy houses to be able to access and protect them from. So I know that there have been people who have been looking into that.
Very cool. Yeah, it seems like you could do a 900 square foot house pretty quick with the dome and get somebody some housing. Very cool. This looks like it has a lot of solar built in.
No, that's not solar. That's just the water and ice. They had not applied the roof to the building as of yet. So that's just essentially the tar paper or the membrane that goes underneath the roofing.
That's not going to be glass on the front, that flat spot just above.
Yes, the flat part that is, extending above is going to be glass. Mhm.
That's what I was thinking, some passive solar,
Yeah, they will. This building was built by an architect. And so it was extremely well thought out as to, the efficiency of the building. It's a post and beam construction, which you can't see very well in this picture, but it's very well constructed, and he's using a lot of green energy or methods to build the home.
So are those 2x10s?
The studs going vertically?
Yeah, the studs, yeah.
You know what? I don't recall, but it shouldn't be 2x10s. There's certain posts that are just like full on posts in the middle. You want to actually have some space. You're trying to remove as much thermal bridging in the home as possible. So you don't really want to have wider planks than you need to, just enough to stabilize the home. And as you can see, you've got those horizontal furring strips. So that allows for the hempcrete to grab onto, and you're gonna be building out that hempcrete outside of the
Furring strips.
The studs. Furring strips and the studs.
Okay.
So,
And then,
Kim, is this the house that you did the workshop on, that we got training on?
that was the house that me and Alex went to when we were in the training with Americhanvre in Pennsylvania. And there was something substantial about this build. I know this was like the closest house that Cameron had to his home since he had begun, which was like 30 minutes away from his house, I believe. And this, I'm trying to remember but there was something special about this house. But yeah, this was, I think this was the first hempcrete job of the season this year.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Very cool.
So Alex, are you seeing, with your business, your architectural work and stuff, are you seeing more people kind of inquiring at least about hemp composite, hemp material, hemp building?
Yeah, I mean,
on that side.
Yeah, I mean, so we work with, a high-end residential architecture firm that yeah, I mean, there's been big interest. I mean, the biggest issue we've been having, early on is just the lack of awareness to like what the material is and what the properties are. So once, I mean, even at a, higher end clientele that we're used to, I mean, there is interest in this type of material. It's more just the availability of it. But yeah, I mean, it's the value proposition for it is very, very strong. Just when you look at the properties and all of the environmental benefits and all of that, and the fact that it can be blended into so many different aesthetics. So that was really what drew us to the look at this material in the first place. But yeah, I mean, again, it's once people hear about it, they're intrigued, but it's more just a matter of the availability of material and just the availability of contractors and things like that to work at the schedules that we need.
So in this particular picture here, we're seeing these, where you sprayed in the crete. Now, is there something you're going to finish that wall off with?
So yeah, this is the finished product of the hempcrete spray application, even after it's been screeded. So you can see how smooth that finish is. It's plumb with the 2x6 or 2x8s. I'm not sure which ones these were. And after that, so it's got to go through the drying process of about 8 weeks of full drying to be able to be rendered. but they will have to be transported to the site first before that happens. And then you would render or put a plaster finish on it, whether it be clay or a lime plaster. You have other options. If people don't care for the plaster look or don't seem to think it's, within their budget, you can fur out or add those, those 1x2s to the studs here. And then you can add your like a wood siding, if you will. As long as there's an air gap, you can use other types of siding, but it's really recommended to use something that is more breathable so that the hempcrete can still do its thing. And in that situation, you would use a vapor permeable wrap as well to keep from air moving in and out of the building so easily.
So plaster would be breathable. And you say if you're going to put a wood, you need a little airspace there.
So yeah, so the plaster is vapor permeable, I should say. And with the wood, that is not quite as vapor permeable as a plaster is. So you want to put a gap there for two reasons. One, to apply the siding in the first place, you have to have enough to attach it to, and to put that air gap in there. It'd give you a 3/4 of an inch air gap.
When would you use plastic?
Plaster.
No, you said something about, I thought I understood it, something you would do a plastic vapor barrier wrap.
No, it wouldn't be plastic. It's a,
Oh, okay. All right.
yeah, it's a vapor permeable wrap.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah. So like you have on your normal houses, you have Tyvek, right?
Mhm.
And with the hempcrete houses, you don't use Tyvek. You have to use something vapor permeable. I don't remember the brand names though.
Oh, there's an actual, instead of plaster, there's an actual sheet of material that's vapor permeable.
It's a wrap. And so if you're not going to be putting plaster on your exterior, for example, then you would put that vapor permeable wrap just like you would Tyvek.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I got you.
We're learning how to be builders today, Dave.
Yeah.
No, I want to build one of these for my son out in Oregon. He's looking at spending stupid money on a little house that's built in the 20s. It's like, he didn't. And I'm sorry, Jacob. I mean, it's where he wants to be, but it's like, this would be so cool, to do something like this. Yeah, the housing costs are ridiculous, so if you can grow a few acres, right, and get the right equipment, I mean, I don't know. Is this something somebody can take on, or do they have to hire a pro? What do you think?
I would recommend, if it's your house, to hire a hempcrete contractor. One of the beauties, or a natural builder, one of the beauties of this material is its simplicity, that, it essentially is just three materials that synergize together to create something bigger than the sum of their parts. However, building is always more complicated than just, the materials that you're using. So in order to just make sure that, the site runs smoothly, I would always recommend on a bigger site to at least work with a natural builder or a contractor, and maybe if you've got a knack for that, to maybe learn from them, and after that maybe look at doing some small builds and whatnot. But it's always better to go to an expert first, because it's simple does not mean foolproof by any means.
No, I've learned that a few times.
Yeah.
Yes, I have myself too. Sometimes it's less costly when you hire the right person to do it in the first place, instead of
You bet.
trying to do
Holy
it
cow.
yourself. So yeah.
And to second what Alex is saying, the process of me getting through to the point of where I am currently in the knowledge that I'm in, has taken a year and a half. So this is no quick manner. I've gone through training, through multiple different companies, and there's a lot of different details that are very important to get the hempcrete right. And if you don't get the hempcrete right, if there's something that you mess up, like the mix, you start blending your own mixes, you can run into issues like mold growth on your hempcrete. That's not normal. That should never happen. So if you're doing it correctly and you know what you're doing and you're using, the proper binder, then you should not have that if you're allowing that dry time to be there. But if you don't know what you're doing, you could very well run into an issue that is going to cost you the whole, to have to redo your whole entire build. It's just not worth, and if you have builder experience, that's fine. But you do need to at least consult a professional in hempcrete that builds with hempcrete, because there is difference between traditional builds and hempcrete builds.
Very cool. And you just happen to have a machine on the way, and you're available for hire?
Yes, I am.
All right.
Yeah,
so we call Kim.
We do have interest with a project near Chicago for next year. So hopefully we can add that into our slot for the following year. But we'll have our full-on mixer and spray machines. So we'll be ready, and as well as we have the option to do the precast panels with Matt's license.
Excellent.
Before
All right,
we
let's
take a
take.
break, let's save Kim and Alex. If people want to get a hold of you for further information, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you? Kim, let's do you first.
So you can get a hold of me through my website, FiberFort.com, or Instagram, EcoFiberFort. Join me, follow me on there, and you can get a hold of me.
Okay. And Alex, what's the best way to get people to get a hold of you?
For me, probably email at hemphollowprocessing@gmail.com or visit the Escher Design website.
Excellent. Well, we're at the bottom of the hour, so maybe we'll get a little news in here. Mike, what do you got to share with us?
Well, Grand Haven has been fighting for a while to get opt-in for recreational cannabis, and that was approved this week. However, that being said, the Grand Haven City Council are requiring everybody to be in essentially a green zone, where you'd have cannabis retailers, provisioning centers, growers, processors, transporters, all located around the city's industrial park on the southeast side of town. That's not where the tourists are. But that's what you get. You take what you can get. There's been a lot of resistance here. It's a tourist town. Cannabis tourism is starting to take off in Michigan, but in this case, they restricted it. But still, it's a win, and we'll take that, right? As I mentioned earlier, let me keep plugging it one more time, and I hate to conflict with Kim's event, but we're on the other side of the state, so that shouldn't be an issue. Our buddies at Sparrow Consulting and Hatchet Planner are putting together a big event on July 9th in Muskegon, where they live, not very far from their house. In fact, where a big softball facility is called Cannabash Fest. It's going to be music. It's going to be food trucks. It's going to be at least 45 to 50 exhibitors, of which 7 of them are dispensaries, and it is a consumable event. But so who are the other exhibitors? It's all that related stuff, paraphernalia, clothing, anything related to cannabis is involved in this as well. I also wanted to mention that on my show on Wednesdays, 420 Post, we made actually some news where the True North Collective. Now, I hadn't heard of True North Collective before, but they're a processor and a grower, and they work with a lot of caregivers and whatnot. But 2 of the better known names in the Michigan cannabis community, Kelly Garrity and Jamie Cooper from Sensi Magazine fame, have been hired by True North Collective. And Kelly is the business development director, sales director. And Jamie, she's going to still maintain what she does with Sensi Magazine, but she's also going to be the marketing director for True North Collective. So we wanted to congratulate them on the new positions that they have. And again, I hadn't heard of True North Collective previous to the show, so educated me as well. And then finally on the show, we also had Tom Levine from Cannabis Council. There's a bill that's moving through the Michigan legislature right now, House Bill 5512, which used to be, there's been previous rulings on medical marijuana having a card and how that, if you get arrested or something or have issues with that, you've got a medical marijuana card, so it's cool. Well, turns out that the drug courts didn't like that. They were afraid they're going to lose their federal funding. So there's a bill moving through the legislature. Instead of having a doctor prescribe the card, which would be the logical thing to do, now the judge is going to decide whether a person should have a medical marijuana card. And I'm wondering, gee, how much background does that judge have, right? And, the judges, it's very political. You can have a very liberal judge, a very conservative judge. And unfortunately, it looks like that one's going to move through. It's already passed the House, it's passed the Senate. It'll soon be going to Governor Whitmer's office for signature. And even though it is an election year, and I would think this would be in her better interest to veto that bill, since the cannabis community helped get her elected, it's pretty overwhelming. I don't know if they have a super majority to override, but the pundits are saying she'll probably veto it, and because it's a losing battle. She could veto it, and then they would override, and so she probably won't. I should say, not will. So some changes afoot to the medical community, and of course that involves some of our own folks in the CBD areas as well. But we'll see what happens next.
So that's Bill 5512. We should keep an eye on
5512, House Bill 5512. Yeah, it's been railroaded through by some very large lobby groups. We won't get into all that who shot who stuff, but yeah, it's opposed by everybody in the community, marijuana community. But politics. So I think that's the hot stuff for us.
Yeah.
Over on the dark side of the force here,
There we go.
Do you know who you're going to have on your next show, Mike?
I'm probably going to promote the Cannabis Fest one more time. I'm trying to help them out a little bit. And, it's every week I get to this point, the week before, where we're looking for whatever the hot news is. We like to make it very topical. That's why we brought Levine on, because he was going to talk about 5512, and that was moving. And then, of course, with the other one, that was news that those two ladies got made directors of that company. So, no, I don't know yet, but I will be exploring that tomorrow to see what we're going to do. And they're probably going to take off the week of the 4th. Everybody wants a little break. I don't know if you guys are going to do a show the week of the 4th, but I don't think we will. You're going to have some downtime. It's the summer, right? It's only lasts 90 days, and then winter comes back. So you got to make
already started that way now,
right?
So we start that way. So,
but anyways, that's it from my side of the aisle.
Okay. Well, a little bit of news that I've got to share. One of the big events coming up is going to be down in Kentucky, is the Southern Hemp Expo. That's July 18th through the 20th. So a big event down there for everybody with the industrial hemp. Great show they always put on. And so if you're going to be traveling and attend something, that's a great one to attend. Another thing that's happened this past week is the National Hemp Association and the Hemp Feed Coalition have joined forces to work with getting the industrial hemp for feed for livestock. That's moving forward. They also have a campaign going on right now to help them out. It's very, very costly to try to do these studies and to try to get this information to USDA so it can be used for feed. So you can look at US Hemp Feed Coalition and see the programs they have going on there. Certainly, if you can help out and you're part of that industry, it'd be great to jump on board and join forces with them to help move that forward. Also, the U.S. Department of Energy has invested $39 million in low carbon construction technology. So that's a great sign to see that they're looking at the hemp world, industrial hemp world, to see how that can also be helpful and again sequester the carbon we got going on. We already talked a little bit about this. The US Hemp Building Association, July 9th. They're going to have their webinar training thing. There's a little cost to be involved in that, but certainly well worth the information you're going to get if you're a builder or interested in the building materials used with industrial hemp. Also, the Pennsylvania Hemp Festival is going on in Pennsylvania, just a short drive away, not very far. That's July 30th. Sounds like that's going to be a great time. So you can look at that. We do know a little bit more about the news that came out about the Indiana. The Dutch company is going to do the facility in Indiana for the fiber processing. Sounds like that's going to be somewhere in southern Indiana. I was hoping a little maybe more northern Indiana, but we're still trying to get a hold of them, get them on the show so we can get some more information on that. So certainly that's great news to know that a company that's been doing this for years over the Netherlands sees the viability of being here in the U.S. and making a plant here.
But as a proviso, they're looking to work with a tribal organization to establish another one. And gosh, in Michigan, we got all sorts of tribal organizations they could work with. They all run the casinos, right? So they have a lot of money, a lot of land. Mount Pleasant would be a great location. I'm right behind that casino there. There's a giant piece of property. I think they own that. So let's try to attract them to Michigan, right?
Yeah, we're going to try to talk to them and again, let them know about that. Now, unfortunately, one of the articles that I did read about that, they are looking about doing that out in the northwestern
too bad.
Part of the United States for that. But certainly, these plants are going to have to be multiple plants in multiple locations to make it feasible for transporting and growing and processing and everything. So, it's just it's that whole infrastructure that's getting in place and moving along forward. So, also, you can still sign up if you want to be part of the research project for hemp testing of the
Midwest Hemp Database.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So
yeah, if you just Google Midwest Hemp Database or look on our website, there's some links to it. But yeah, if you're growing, let us know. I'd like to hear from some people who are actually growing this year. That if you hear this, reach out. Send us an email or call.
I have heard from a reliable source. The auto industry has been sniffing around. In some cases, they're already using it for high-end vehicles like Mercedes and Porsche and whatnot. But Lear, which is a big tier one, I heard from a very reliable source, is looking for 6,000 acres of hemp because they want to do hemp fabric for automobiles. So the tier ones, they're the ones that really build all the parts and whatnot. And then the OEMs like GM and Ford and the rest, they just assemble everything. So the ones you want to reach out to are the ones that are building the parts. And apparently, I don't know exactly who Lear services, but I think Ford might be one of them. They're looking for hemp fabric. So there is movement. And so that would be a heck of a customer if you could get the auto industry involved in this, right?
Yeah. It'd be interesting because they would have to do all the processing in textiles. And do they do all that now?
I don't think Lear does that. So it might be an opportunity if somebody wanted to reach out to those folks and see what they're up to and how you guys can help him, right?
Growing it is not, not that, we figured that part out. It's the processing. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. If anybody is growing out there, we'd love to do a tour this summer out to get on some farms and let the members and other people get out and see what that's going, so we can keep letting them know that Michigan can be a very, very viable industry for doing this. So we want to keep that forefront for everybody. So Dave, that's about what I got for news right now.
All right. What's going on, Kim?
I was just going to say, you guys know about Corey Vanderswag growing for fiber for so
yeah, we'll be working with Corey a little bit. Yeah, I'm actually doing a grow with him on grain this year. So we're doing a little grain again this year.
So Kim, with those panels, those prefab panels, how heavy are those? Is that something that can be transported across great distances?
Absolutely. They are definitely heavy. They have to be manipulated with a forklift and, some manpower to to get them, where they need to go, to be set up on a truck for transportation. But once you've done that, then you're solid.
So
Yeah.
you can stack them up on a flatbed truck and drive down the road and they're not going to crumble to pieces?
No. So,
Vertically stacked?
don't know exactly how Matt transports them, whether they are vertical or not. But let's see if I can find the picture here, where he just connects all of them. And, once they're connected, there is not too much loss. There's a lot of pictures here.
A
So,
lot of pictures.
yep. Hard to go through all of it, but
Sorry, they tell a story.
Just for they've actually there's been a few parties and companies that have done something called a hemp house on wheels, where they literally take a hemp, like a tiny home, and drive it around on a flatbed and then bring it to various events in various places. So the logistics of that have been it's certainly there's always some the devil's in the details type of thing, but it's hardly a the hardest logistical challenge in the world, and has a proven track record of being done.
Once the hemp wall dries, I mean, how it's not as dense as concrete, but is it pretty solid once it dries?
Yeah.
Wow.
yes.
It's like rock, basically, limestone wall, right?
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, it's what it is it has a high thermal aspect, but a low but the density is still pretty low. So what you have is those and that's sort of what makes the breathability principle so interesting, is that you have a bulky, thick material, but it's got enough permeability where it allows the extremes of the temperature spectrum to permeate in and out. So it's this that's again where it's got this perfect balance that you don't see really anywhere else in the construction sector.
When it dries, it is like you would not want to punch your hand into it. It would hurt really bad.
Mhm.
But you will see flaking of the outer perimeter. With blocks, they have to make blocks with a more a different balance of the lime binder and the hemp, so that they can be a little bit more sturdy. Add that extra lime, and that will allow them to be more transportable, because those edges do tend to crumble if they're, I guess, if you rub up against them with something, bang on them, if there's a lot of friction going on with the transportation. I built a hempcrete, and this is the picture, by the way, that I was thinking of.
So those are panels.
These are panels. These
all
are all
put
the
together?
precast panels that was made in the workshop prior to us, and this is how they stack them. And they just have 4 inches of spacing between each panel, and they will sit like that and dry for 2 months.
Okay.
But the wall that I made last year has been sitting out in the weather. And I don't know if you guys remember last year in Michigan, but it was insane weather. We had storm after storm, and there was no protection to this sample wall whatsoever. And it's still standing with no issues today. But you do see that there's some washout, if you will, from the rain going through and pulling out that, like, the lime, essentially. So it's a bit flaky at this point, but it's still 100% stable. And there's nothing wrong with it. I could plaster it today and it would still be just fine. But I didn't put any protection on it. There's no roof, there's no plaster, there's no protection, and you don't leave a hempcrete house like that. So
Okay.
So Kim and Alex, we have just a little bit of time here, but let's talk a little bit about, Kim, what you had to go through to get approval from whatever municipalities and contractors and buildings and everything else to do it. And Alex, a little bit about where we're going with that. And I know that we've got some stuff that's just happened recently with the building materials, and maybe give us an update on where we're going there.
So for most of the builds that have been built in the US before this year, you needed something called an alternative building permit, where you needed an engineer to sign off on it, just because there was no national standard for a building system like that. What the USHBA has been working on, and what we are, accomplishing this year, is to make it an IRC certified material. So now that there's precedent for in the national building codes for building with this type of style. When the initial hearing this past 7-2, so the final step is we're just waiting for there's a public comment section, and then in September that should be we're hoping that this gets finalized, but after that it should remove the alternative building permit requirement for the builds, which will make it a much simpler and streamlined process for both the builder and the homeowner to be able to construct a hempcrete house. The only thing that will need to be done after that is there is a little bit of a delay between the certification of the new IRC standards from the national standards to the state standards. So there will be some advocacy on our part to make sure that everything's ratified. But again, this is the fact that it will be after the public hearing in the building code should streamline this process like a tremendous amount. And the next step after that will be the commercial codes. So right now it'll be approved for residential construction. Believe the limit there would be 2 stories and nothing more than that. But then after that, we can go and start looking at the commercial buildings and expand after that. So it's been, certainly there's work to be done, but it can't be understated how big of a step forward this is.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah, so considering that has not fully gone through at this point, someone might be wondering, okay, well, how did you get the build permitted to be able to be built now? And that's with special permission. Essentially, we need to go to the municipalities and present to them the materials that we are using and how they are already used in other countries, and how that is still up to the code of, fire code, just in terms of stability of the home, all that kind of stuff. And as long as you come prepared and don't come with, the slipping up of like, oh, well, this is made of marijuana, that can run you into some issues. I think coming into it as a very professional thing and saying, this is a building material, it's an insulation, nothing more, then you don't get a ton of pushback. Has there been pushback for people? Absolutely. There have definitely been people who have had a lot of hoops they've had to jump through. Me in particular, I have not run into those hoops. I've actually had a very easy time getting permits for the builds that I've been involved in so far.
Excellent.
So let's talk again about how Kim and Alex, how people can get a hold of you, the best way to get a hold of you.
For me, it would be just my email address, which is hemp-hollow-processing@gmail.com, or visit the Escher Design website, where you can get in touch with either me or my dad. We'd be happy to answer any questions. And if you're looking for a hempcrete designer, we're more than happy to help you there.
So I have my website, which is www.fiberfort.com. My phone number, you can reach me out directly at 248-820-7174, or look me up on Instagram at EcoFiberFort. I do have a video that I wanted to share with you guys if we have time for that. See if I can get.
Now there's 2 hoses coming into one. Is that how it's mixed?
Yep. so that's for the amount of pressure. I'll speak after this is done. So you can see that he's going in there's a lot of movement while he's spraying. There's a lot of technique when it comes to spray apply and making sure that it sticks and that you're not building out too far. The two hoses that you see there, that is to allow as much material to move through the machine as possible. You have your hopper, which is a couple of feet wide, and that intakes hempcrete. You don't want to plug up your machine. So that allows, as much hempcrete as can be applied as possible without overloading, the wall, but being as efficient as possible. So often there's a lot of movement when it goes to the spray application. And as you can tell, it's pretty, I think you probably can hear it's pretty loud. So we actually have to wear ear protection during this application. But yeah, and we do need to have a very strong air compressor as well to be able to push out the hempcrete itself.
So Kim, I'm going to go back to another picture you showed. So that mixing machine that mixes the product and then it put it into that, I'm going to call it a trailer, where it came into that auger. So that's how it works. You mix it, put it into that, and then it comes through that auger into this machine, right?
Yeah, I tried to get a video of that, but I wasn't able to transfer it in time. But essentially what it is you have your air compressor that puts air through the machine. You have your mixer, so you've got two separate components. Whoever's on the mixer is doing the mixing up the water, the binder, and the hemp, and then it is laid out on the table and fed into that hopper, where the hopper is running, it's rotating, and it feeds the hemp through that air pressure. It feeds that hemp through those tubes down to the sprayer.
Okay. Yeah. We have a poster or a flyer, I think. Maybe Dave, you have it, or Kim, you have it of the event.
Yeah, I shared it, but let's see if I can.
It's already nice to show that if we can. We got it.
I'll see if I can pull it up. So this is the workshop. I don't know if you can see that or if it's too big.
We sure can.
Okay.
Very cool.
So
All right.
that's
Learn how to build a house.
Yep.
And you'll update everybody. You're thinking about maybe just changing it just to the 9th, you said earlier on, maybe?
Yeah, I think we put it as the 8th and the 9th so we could have time. We're actually going to be starting the spray application on the 10th. So originally I had planned on the Sunday the 10th to be like a break between us doing the workshop so that we would have a breather, being as it's going to be a lot of energy to put into the workshop. But it looks like with Cameron's schedule, he doesn't have as much time to be out there. So we're going to start working on the 10th. And we haven't had as much interest in people coming out on Friday due to, people being at work and not being able to get out. So I just haven't seen quite enough interest. I've had one person solidify being there on Friday. So if it's only for one person, I think we're just gonna, ask them to come on Saturday instead.
Maybe have to have them come and help us set everything up. Get a little help that way.
Yeah, for sure.
So hempcrete workshop gonna be in Chelsea, Michigan. That's near Ann Arbor, right?
What was that?
Is that near Ann Arbor?
Yes, it's about 25 minutes from downtown Ann Arbor.
All right. All right, well, Kim, we wish you the best. Get us some pictures of that. We'd sure love to give an update on that as that project and as your project goes throughout the summer. So, yeah.
Thank you for having me on.
Yeah.
And Alex, thank you very much for both of you for taking time out of your day and sharing this information. That was very, very.
But you want to
very
stick
nice.
around for this next segment, though.
Yeah, like I say, Mike, unfortunately, I don't have my hat today to wear, but. So this is a sweet potato hemp burgers. This is made with hemp burgers and pumpkin seed and coconut. Sure to be a hit. Again, it's grilling season, so it's easy. It's an easy sweet potato hemp burger with pumpkin seeds and coconut. The prep time is about 10 minutes because, you know, I like to do things kind of quickly there. And the cook time is about 15. So total time about 25 minutes. So the ingredients are listed there. You're going to need some hemp seeds, some shelled hemp seeds. We know where we get those if you need them online. The Hemper brand, and then pumpkin seeds, some sunflower seeds, a cup of sweet potatoes, creamed coconut block, they call that, sea salt, a twist of black pepper, a big twist of black pepper, nutmeg, onion powder, ground coriander, and ground cinnamon. And you mix all that, you grind the seed into a meat food processor or blender. You're looking for a rustic meal, some fine, some rough on it. Peel and grate your sweet potato, put that in, grate your cream coconut block. Be sure not to use coconut cream by mistake, as this will make it too soggy. You need to use this stuff, the stuff here, creamed coconut, which comes in a solid block. Add all the ingredients to the food processor and blend thoroughly until evenly combined. You should be able to press together with your fingers and have it stick together perfectly. Shapes into 8 to 10 patties. You can pop them into the fridge for a while to firm them up if you like. Not essential. But they call them pop them under the grill in the broiler in the US. And tan on both sides, about 7 minutes each. And enjoy. So.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah. We'll be trying that. We'll be trying that soon. I haven't not made these ones, but we'll be trying them soon. We'll give you a report as we get that one tried. So.
All right.
All right.
Excellent. Well, let's get grilling.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks,
See you
Jim.
next
Thanks,
week.
Alex.
Take care,
you.
guys.
All right.